What's up, America? Neil here with Geauga Firearms Academy. Thanks for watching. So this is for all you new shooters. We're going to discuss in depth on why you should not spend your money on a weapon light, especially as a new shooter. So let's get after it. By the way, guys, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. It helps us out a lot, especially if you go to the all notifications. That's one of the biggest matrix right now for YouTube, and we want to help get this content out. Weapon mounted lights. One of the first things I see a new shooter put on their gun, because they've seen other experienced or supposedly experienced shooters have that on their gun, and even those guys and gals may not know how to use it either. So we're talking about anywhere from, if you buy a really cheap one, $100 to $300, depending on your make and model. And that's another point to bring up. What weapon light are you even buying? Something that you saw? That's kind of like being 16 years old, having no experience in mechanics or cars, and going out to buy a high mileage used car, versus someone who's an ASE mechanic and goes out and looks for the same vehicle. I guarantee you they're going to come home with two completely different vehicles, because one is basing it on experience and knowledge that the other one doesn't have. Same thing when it comes to the weapon mounted light. It is in fact a great tool, but that's after training. Why would you spend that money right up front for something you're probably not going to use correctly? And a lot of times what I see is people guessing on how to use these. Here's how I see every new shooter use their light. They use their trigger finger to activate a light, okay? That turns the light on or off. It's momentary. We'll get into that in a minute. That's probably the single biggest mistake you can possibly make, especially in a momentary setting. So I don't want to turn this into an in-depth training video per se, but think about this logically. If I'm illuminating an area, it means the area is dark and I can't see it. I'm using my trigger finger to illuminate that area. Now, if in fact I find a threat that warrants deadly force, then I take my finger that's just illuminating the light, right? And I take my finger off to press the trigger. Guess what happens? Now we're back into a dark scenario, which doesn't make any logical sense. And the reason people do that is because intuitively, especially if you're a right-handed shooter or even a left-handed shooter, your pointer finger is your pretty dominant finger that does a lot of things. So it seems natural to you to turn lights on off, fine motor skills, whatever, using this finger. But it's absolutely the wrong thing, because that's going to be a critical finger that we need to use in order to use the firearm. The correct answer, of course, is that we would use our support hand to be able to activate our light. That way we are free to use our trigger finger if we do or do not need to use that. Again, where does this come from? It all comes from getting training. So rather than spending, here's the bottom line of the whole video here is, instead of spending $100 to $300 on a device that you're going to put on your gun that you have no idea how to use, let's first learn about the basics, the fundamentals of shooting and how we actually do this properly, rather than cool gear that we've seen on TV or some of our buddies use or whatever, until we have the experience level and training in order to get the most out of our products. Plus, we're going to go out and spend money the right way, meaning that, going back to my car story, when you're 16, you're going to go out there and you're going to buy a light. So if someone were to say to me, hey, Neil, why do you buy the TR1 HL light? I can give you a whole host of reasons why I pick this specific light over other competitors, because I've used them and I find that my preferences lead me to this for many reasons. And again, maybe down the road we'll make a video specifically on that. And here's the big danger of using this light without training. The purpose of the light is to illuminate areas we can't see. New shooter, long-time shooter, doesn't really make any difference. If I'm using that light, it's to illuminate an area. Does it make sense to take a weapon mounted, meaning it's on a weapon, right, and point that in areas where I may be pointing it at things and people that do not need the gun pointed at them, like i.e. your family, friends? Instead, how about a utility light, a light, or even a tactical light that has a tail cap switch on it, which I can illuminate things and I can see things prior to pointing a gun at it or a deadly weapon at something, when I have a tool that I can use first. With all that said, there are many different ways that we can use this light in conjunction with our firearm, even if we don't have a weapon mounted light on. We'll make a separate video based on that. But at the end of the day, we want to have a light that we can use that's not attached to a firearm to be able to search an area, make sure things are safe. At the end of the day, we also come back to what's our mission specific. Well, most people are using a firearm for home defense, let's be honest. And in that particular case, you're going to be in your room, hopefully if you're smart, you're going to be in your room with your family, because insurance will replace everything that anybody steals from us. It's not really worth it. Running around a house, getting ourselves killed or hurt, or somebody else in the house. Instead, we can stay in that room and protect our family, which is most important, in which case We have controls of lights, we have controls of the flashlights, we have a lot of different options here that I don't have to use while I'm searching around trying to be some John Wick with no experience. When should you buy a weapon light? Well, that one's pretty easy. When you're about to take your first training class. And again, this is not just me pushing our training, whoever, anybody. Whoever is comp in your area that you're going to go to and get some training, I can tell you that when we do these classes, it's hilarious. I mean, we have strobe lights going and high and low, and they're staying on and turning off, and they're off when they're shooting, and it's just a mess. And I totally get it. It's just a separate skill set to be able to manipulate a weapon mounted light, or any light for that matter, and also being proficient at shooting a firearm, which is a case in point. We got to be proficient at shooting that firearm first before we try to throw yet another skill set onto that. So definitely get a weapon mounted light once you're about to get a training class, so you'll know how to use it. And on that note, we do private lessons, and so sometimes before you even get into the actual class, whether it is a private class or you're going to a public class, if you have access to a trainer that's competent, they may be able to give you some tips and pointers as to what light to even buy to begin with, because the last thing you want to do is drop $200 on something and then decide, I really didn't want that. Now you got to buy another $150 to $300 light that you really wanted now that you have the experience. So that can be helpful. For example, obviously you know I'm a TR1 guy, but that doesn't mean anything. I will give you the pluses and minuses on several different competitors, and you make the choice. It's up to you. It's your money. So to put a big bow on this and complete this whole thing, here's the message I want to send out to you guys. Weapon mounted light can be a very effective tool to have as long as you get training. All I'm saying is, if you're a new shooter out there, please don't spend your hard-earned money on gadgets like lights that you don't know how to use yet. First, get the fundamentals down. Find someone in your area, get the training so that you're competent with your firearm first, and then get to a class where they're going to teach you how to use that light, tactics and strategies and all that good stuff, and how to manipulate it. And that way you're spending the money, especially now, in the best way possible. So hope you guys got something valuable from this. If you did, of course, please again, like, subscribe. We really appreciate that. Thumbs up. You guys know where to find us here on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, and of course we put all our premium content on Patreon. Until next time, remember, it's always better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6.